Woo! Don't mind me. I'm so stuffy. It does actually look like I'm naked. I'm hot. Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to What Bill From Here.
This is Catherine.
And this is Amy. And it's episode 10!
And that never gets any less weird.
Yeah. Goal of 2020 was 10 episodes. And we're here.
That was so insane. Did you see that? I'm going to rewind. Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh.
And this week is very special. Not because we're lazy, but because we wanted to do something a bit different for our 10th episode, because this is our 2020 goal to get 10 episodes of a podcast together. We're going to do a Q&A.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Should we just get started straight away? Which one do you want to start with?
So my first question is, what's our plans for the rest of 2020, both personally and for the podcast?
Ooh, rest of 2020. Very excitingly, the other day I got another job rejection through, but I always say rejection equals redirection, because the same day I got a call from someone who I was supposed to work with in March and April before lockdown, and the production's been rescheduled and I'm now going to be able to stage manage next month. So I'm going back to work, guys.
Yay!
I'm going to be back in a theatre, backstage managing in a few weeks. So that's the rest of my 2020, and that's enough for me.
Amazing. And what are you hoping for the podcast? What are you thinking?
Still need to figure that out. We do.
We do. We've not spoken about it.
But I feel like we've got into like a structure now where we're very happy, and growing a bit more of a community and chatting to people and meeting new people is lovely, and just want to continue doing that and continue talking about things that we care about. And I'm sure the list will go on. What about you?
Have a job. That'd be nice. That's my plan for 2020, is to at least have some sort of job. Still applying for stuff. Like, you know, we're both in very different situations again now. Like, Amy's back in employment. I'm still very much unemployed. And to anyone that is still unemployed, like, just keep going. It's hard, it's difficult, and it's soul destroying, but just keep going, because something will come along. And even if you have to take the job that you don't want to do for a little bit just to make the money up, then, you know, take it, because a job's a job at the moment, and they're rare and they're few and far between. Kind of see how it goes. And yeah, I think I agree with the podcast. It's just onwards and upwards, really. Just keep doing what we're doing, keep pushing, keep coming up with new ideas.
Onwards and upwards, uphill from here. So this question says, my question is, before studying drama at university, what other options did you have in mind?
Okay. For me, if I was to go to university, I was always going to study drama. But my alternative, I did look into drama school. Like, I did have that option, so I could have trained in drama rather than just studied drama and theatre studies. Or I wanted to actually be a beautician and be in the beauty industry, working in salons and things like that, on kind of particularly skincare kind of orientated stuff. So that was my original option. Two quite differing pathways, but we chose drama and now we're here.
Now we're unemployed. I'm the same. So I was looking at drama schools as well, because I studied performing arts at college and I wanted to go into like musical theatre, but I can't sing and I was shit at tap, so that went down the shitter. So yeah, I love drama. I knew I wanted to be in theatre, I didn't know what, so I was like, I'll just take a generic drama and theatre studies course. But when I was like 13, I was obsessed with the idea of living in a VW camper van and living from selling cupcakes.
I remember this
for years. And now anytime I'm out of work, Mum's like, you can always get that camper van.
And she's asked is our biggest life lesson from 2020?
Excuse me.
I think mine has been that nothing's permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So, build up as much experience as you can and get things behind you so that nothing catches you out. Don't put off opportunities and take every opportunity to learn.
Oh, show.
Out.
How do you think everyday choices affects your life?
Okay. I think they affect it to some degree, but I am very much a believer of like tomorrow is another day.
Mm.
I might have made a mistake today, but tomorrow will be better. Or even just the simple things like, oh, I didn't do very much today, but I have tomorrow to rectify that.
Yeah.
I think, take every day as it comes, but don't ever think that just because you've had one bad day, it means everything is bad.
Yeah, that's true. And I think your everyday choices, the choices you make every day, make up who you are. Like they will have an impact because, like, I am a big believer in like making small choices and like small changes and switches in your everyday life can have a huge impact on the planet. Like for example, like I've recently switched to like bamboo face products, so like I'm not using loads of like plastic filled like cotton face rounds or anything. And like making small changes, or like for example investing in like a water bottle and try not to waste water and not use as many single use plastics, like small choices like that. If you keep making those every single day, um it will have a more long lasting impact on the environment, and I'm really passionate about that. I think that it's in the everyday.
What's the hardest thing about making a podcast?
Okay, I find it difficult because a lot of the time when people have like a professional podcast, they will have someone that edits for them, so someone outside of the conversation um that edits and makes it clear for like an outside perspective. But obviously because I edit podcast, I find it difficult to switch into that like unbiased editor mode, because like I said to Catherine, like when I'm editing, I'll listen and I know my thought path and I'll know exactly what I'm trying to say, whereas you're not living inside someone's brain, so it's really difficult to edit someone else's speech and convey what they were trying to say properly, because you might think that you've perceived what they said a certain way and you present that in the way that I edit it together, and then sometimes Catherine's like, you cut a bit out so it doesn't make sense anymore what I was trying to say. And it's difficult like editing when you're also featured in the podcast. That's the most difficult part.
I think that leads me on to my hardest part of doing a podcast, which is particularly doing a podcast with a friend. Because it is a more professional working relationship, and we do have to talk about things that aren't like friendship things. Even though this is a passion project, we kind of have to do all the organization, and we have to interrupt each other on days off, and we kind of have to do all the kind of work side of it as well. And I hate telling people that they've done something that I either would change, because I hate it, because it's like, it's not my place to tell you how to do things. And I've had to learn how to do that for the sake of both of us, so that it's not like there's no tension that's causing something that would then be friction in our friendship that's coming from this project. I've had to learn that this person is my friend and they understand. They're not going to be angry at me because I've said, oh, I don't like this, or this needs changing. And I've had to learn that, and that's been really hard. So the next one kind of leads in from the last one, but what's the best thing about the podcast?
We get to just talk about things. Like, it just feels like a really like chill conversation. I like, even when I'm in a bad mood, we'll come on and chat, and it's very cathartic and therapeutic for both of us, I think. And normally 9 times out of 10, after I finish, I feel better and I feel positive, and I feel like it gives us a little almost like time for like self-exploration and like self-discovery, and chatting to someone else about like important topics to you is so important, because it's important not just to only reflect on like what you think, it's also really important to have other perspectives and to listen to what other people think too. I think it's a really important skill. Not only expressing how you feel, but be able to listen and respond to how someone else feels. And that's from other people that like write in as well. Like, it's been really special to like have people feedback and be like, oh, I love that you talk about this, it's so honest. And I'm like, that's just what we are. And I'm glad that we can normalize having these conversations about things, and that you should be chatting to your friends about difficult topics, and there are people out there that care and want to hear your opinion on things. Yeah, I love that's what we're about.
I think mine's pretty similar. Like, I find it quite like therapeutic, but I also find like it just gives us a chance to talk, which I like. It gives us that time to check in with each other and check that each other are okay. But I also think the community that we've kind of built up around this is something really special, and it's something that's really nice to be a part of. So hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Ooh. Who has been the biggest influence on your life so far?
My mom, I think.
I'd probably agree.
And we have kind of like a friendship dynamic as well as a parent-child dynamic. And I take a lot away from her. Because although she says like, oh, I haven't really lived a very exciting life, I'm like, well, you have. You've learned a lot. You know a lot. And I appreciate how you raised me. I think that's definitely been the biggest influence for me. I could talk about it all day, but
yeah, I think I'd agree. I think like the people that grow up when you grow up around definitely have a massive impact on your development, the kind of person you are, the kind of morals you have, even down to like your little quirks and the way you say things, and you pick those things as a child and you learn those behaviors. So for good or bad, you will. It's like nature versus nurture, isn't it? Like, you pick up on the people around you. I think as young women, your mother or your mother figure like has a massive impact on who you are, just like values and things like that. Like, I may not be like have the same like religious beliefs as my mum, but like I still am a massive believer in like kindness and honesty is the biggest thing for me. But that's because with my mum, like, lies are the worst things. Like, be honest about everything, and I've learned that now, and I implemented that in my own life, and that's become part of my belief system and my personal values, and that's all learned. What is the one thing you aim to achieve by the time you're 40?
I think I know it's a short-term goal and I have started now, but it does feel like a lifetime away, is to just learn to drive and be able to be entirely independent. I think that is definitely something that's like, know what life throws in the way, at least by the time I'm 40, I hope to be able to drive and be that level of independent.
I want a family. I want to be very happily married and in love with my family, and have lovely, healthy kids. It's weird. It's so weird because we're saying your mum influences you, because she wrote a list when she was like in high school. When she was 40, she wanted just to have a nice house, being happily married, and have beautiful, healthy kids. And it's pretty much the same for me. Obviously, I do have career goals, but if someone like straight asked me if you had one thing you wanted by the time you're 40, it would be happy relationship, happy marriage, and kids.
Which I think it just goes to show the ways our brains work differently, that you've kind of got that long-term plan, and for me it's kind of like take the next 10 years and let's just deal with that first.
Yeah,
let's not deal with 20. That's a long time.
Whenever I meet a guy, within a week I'm like, we're gonna get married and have kids. what will our kids look like? And then it's like we break up and I'm like, well, fuck.
Oh, I like this one, but I think this one's going to be really hard.
Okay.
It's who has been the favourite guest on the podcast?
Ooh. That's really harsh. Can we? I love them all. They've all been very different.
Then there's been people who have like really opened our eyes about stuff and given us alternative opinions, which are really interesting. So I think that's a really difficult one.
I don't think I do have a favourite. I think I've liked I've loved everyone we'd had on, but for different reasons. I think last really kind of surprised me, and I was really intrigued because it's someone. I think it's nice to hear from people you do know and care about their opinion. But it's also nice. It's also nice to hear from people you don't know and be like, oh, it's a new perspective, and I can learn from someone new. So I love that, and I can't wait to have more lovely guests. That was a very political answer, wasn't it? We just avoided the question. Why is makeup so important? Imagine a world where we're all just ourselves without a cosmetic mask. Mm.
I just had a thought about this the other day, to be fair.
Mm.
I was like, if you turned up to an interview without makeup on, would you be considered unprofessional?
No, I think like your personal grooming obviously has to be okay. You have to be clean and washed and fresh and look presentable, not like have your hair everywhere and like look like shit and like still got your like jam from your toast on your face. But like I think if you just came like fresh face but you were clean and like well presented, I don't think that like it's about how you feel going into the interview, I guess. If you want to feel your most confident and your best presented, and that is wearing a face of makeup, do it. But again, if you're someone that wears makeup and feels confident in just like what you're wearing, just do that. Yeah. I think it's a choice, really.
I don't know.
I
don't know why the world is so obsessed with that. I think it's because it's become such a trend now. There's so much to it. There's so many things to buy. It's a completely consumer-based industry. So I do think it's about trend, but thankfully now I think makeup is becoming about choice.
Yeah, and I feel like anyone can and should wear makeup if they want to. I think I don't think seeing it as a mask, I think is not the best view to have. I think it's just an extension of who you are.
So that someone might see it as a mask, we see it as an enhancement. Some other people see it as, a way to cover up things that make them feel less confident.
Just like clothes for your face, innit?
Yeah.
Put them in whatever you want, or naked, if that's what you like.
Who would be the ultimate guest on the podcast?
Harry Styles.
Oh. I think my ultimate guest would be another podcaster, and I think it'd have to be Rosie Ramsey.
Oh, excellent answer. Yes.
I want Rosie Ramsey on the podcast. This is the plea, please, if anyone's watching, get Rosie on the podcast.
If you're out there.
Hey, Rosie.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good shout. Oh, okay. If you won the lottery, what would you do?
Probably buy myself a house, and then give my family some, and whatever was kind of left, keep a little bit in savings and give some to charity.
I would also buy a house, but well, it depends how much it was, because I'd buy a house in London, so I might need like a big win on the lottery, or like a flat. I'd buy a house with a garden in London, and then I'd travel. I'd buy that and maybe rent it out while I was away, for some income, and I would just travel. I would go to New Zealand and visit Beam Fiona. I'd travel Australia, Bali, Indonesia, like travel more of the States, around Europe. I would just travel, and not. Which, if you could change any part of your body, what would you change?
Is it really vain to say nothing?
No, I think that's really good.
Because everything that I would ever change about my body can be done by me. I don't need some sort of like procedure or any kind of miracle to do it. I'm pretty happy with how it is, really.
I'd get a boob job.
I like this one. What's our favourite topic / episode that we've done so far, and why?
I like the insecurities episode, just like personally for me to like reflect back on something, and I think people like enjoyed the realness of that, and like I think it's good to share a vulnerable side, and I feel like I really like opened up. Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed last week. I really, really enjoyed last week. But I think in like long term, kind of having time to reflect on it, I think my favourite was the graduation special, because it was kind of the first time that we'd had like that real community feeling where people started talking to us, people started interacting with us, we got to know kind of people in the community, and then we also got to kind of reflect on our time at uni. And it was just nice. It just felt like a real celebration, and I kind of really hoped that the audience enjoyed that and felt like they could join in on that kind of small celebration for the graduation that wasn't happening at the time.
Yeah, that was nice. If you could tell your 11-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
I feel like we've kind of touched on this on some of the episodes.
I do.
I think mine, and I think I'm pretty sure this was my answer in the previous episodes. Don't not take the opportunities that are in front of you, because they could be your pathway to what you want to do. And that would be mine. Don't hold back.
Your body is going to change, and just let it. Your weight is going to go like that over the next over 10 years now. And oh my god, 11 was half of our life. Yeah, it's going to change. You're going to change the person. Go with it. It's far more fucking important things than how your body looks.
I really like this one, and I think it's just because it's fun. What's your all-time favourite word, and what is your favourite phrase or saying?
Oh. I think mine is buffet.
Oh. I don't know. There's so many. Do you know what's fun to say? Conscientious.
Ooh, that is nice. Oh, you know what I actually do like, and it's a Welsh word, and they don't have it in the other language. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Cwtch, a little cwtch, and it means like a special.
Yeah, cuddle.
I really like that word.
What's your favourite phrase or saying?
What's for you won't go by you. My mum always said that. What's for you won't go by you. I live by it.
Which is there's no as queer as folk. Which is just, there's nothing more weird than people.
True. If you were reincarnated as an animal, what would you come back as?
Come back as a bird, I think, because they can fly, and that means they can get from place to place. But also, a lot of them, I think specifically something like a swan, because they're constantly in water, and I love water. I just love being in water.
I do. And that's why I'd say I'd be a dolphin. They're intelligent, which is good. They can communicate really cleverly because they have that and like they can communicate. See, I'm already turning into
how would you describe life in your 20s to your younger self now that you're there? It's shit.
I would just say equal parts freedom and responsibility, because you're an adult. Like you're fine. You finally got that freedom that you wanted as a teenager. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to eat whatever I want and go wherever I want. Not have to ask my parents. And yes, you've got that freedom, but also because you don't have your parents to rely on, you've got more responsibility too. So, yeah.
I like that. I think mine would be, don't rush to get here.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be so desperate to get here. Don't wish your life away. What annoys you most about how people describe life in your 20s, i.e. misconceptions, stereotypes, expectations? I know what mine is.
What is it?
Everyone tells you it's downhill from here when you turn 20. As well, I think the expectation that you should be finding a job that you want to do for a long term, like a really long time in your 20s, is a really massive misconception now. Like that doesn't happen it's about finding what you want to do, not settling for something because you think that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I think like all these like milestones, like you need to have this career, you need to have gone to uni, you need to have found the right person, you need to have kids by like any age, never mind just in your 20s. I think it's rubbish anyways. Like go by your own clock.
Your own clock, yeah.
Yeah.
Your life, your time. So final one is, what's been your proudest moment so far?
I'm proud of us for creating a podcast out of a really shitty situation. Lockdown has been so hard for creative people, and I'm really, really proud of us for turning it into a massive positive and coming up with this creative project. And I've loved it, and long may it continue.
I think that wrap things up. Dun, dun, dun.
So that pretty much wraps things up for this week's little Q&A. We hope you've enjoyed like getting to know us a little bit more and this kind of like different little special episode that we put together. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with any more questions, or if you want to be a future guest, please do get in touch, as we are planning future episodes as we speak. So how can they get in touch, Kathleen?
They can get in touch through Instagram on @uphillfromherepodcast, or you can email us uphillfromherepodcast@gmail.com. We also have our hashtag running still, which is hashtag Dear Cat and Amy, where you can write a post and kind of put your thoughts and opinions on a topic, write us a little letter, and we will share you on our page.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us for the first 10 episodes of Uphill From Here. I think when we started, we didn't know where this is going, and we're really proud of ourselves for making it to 10. And we shall see you very soon with more.
Bye!
Bye. You got that one thing.
Oh, it's horrendous. It was like the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was just sat there like looking at me.
Oh yeah. Why have you frozen? You went there, it just froze on your face like.
For God's sake.
I got eczema. Let's just move on, shall we?